Welcome to another episode of Croc Talk. I am your host, former NFL and AFL defensive back Eric Crocker, and on today's episode, we are talking about just that, another defensive back, Greg Newsome II, cornerback out of Northwestern. Guy just blazed a 4.31 at his pro day. Got a lot to talk about with this guy. All right, so I'm kind of late to the party, but I'm glad I got there. You guys stay tuned for some good stuff here. So like always, if you're not already following me on Twitter, make sure you guys follow me at Eric_Crocker. Also, subscribe to the Patreon account, patreon.com/CrocTalk. All right, so Greg Newsome, let's talk about who he is first, all right? And I've talked a little bit about kind of my process with, evaluating prospects and whatnot. And typically, I watch the film before looking at any numbers. I mean, like height, weight, speed, all that. I don't want to know the numbers. I want the guy's film to tell me who he is and what he's good at. Well, right before I started recording and, I already have my notes and everything on Greg Newsome, he actually had his pro day. And at his pro day, his numbers, 6 foot even, 192 pounds. Good, that's good size. I like that. All right, 4.38 40-yard dash. Great. All right, that was on his first attempt. His second attempt, he ran a 4.40. All right, I think, and we saw the 4.31 floating around. I want to say that was his unofficial time. All right, so keep going. Broad jump 10.3, so definitely explosive enough. 3-cone sub 7, great. Bench press 18 reps, great. And short shoulder 4.28. Probably would like to see a little bit better, but again, not bad. So he's definitely a terrific prospect, and then we'll get into the film and you'll see a lot of this jump out. And even I think maybe that short shoulder as well. Being a 4.28 in the short shoulder, not great. I think I kind of see that on film just a little bit. So the first thing that I typically want to identify is what type of movement skills does he have? And I thought from that perspective, it was good, right? One of the first plays that are probably going to jump out that people are going to really show a lot when it comes to Greg Newsome is his interception against Wisconsin. And it's, again, press coverage, all that, sometimes it's not going to be perfect. But how do you react? How does just your natural body movements react? And does your body work the same way that you're thinking in your mind? And with him, with the interception against Wisconsin, he had to kind of change direction. He was going this way, going that way, turn back, and then make a play on the ball. That was terrific to me. That jumped out, and I really liked that. All right, there were other plays where it showed him impressed, where he's having to flip this way, flip that way, open up. Didn't look like he was fighting against his movement skills. To me, again, that's what I want to see. That tells me that everything is working together, whether it's your eyes, your hips, your feet. The ability to kind of change direction like that and everything working together in unison, really good. So just from a natural movement skills ability, I thought, he looked really good from that perspective. It was just how well can he play off? Because they play a lot of off coverage at Northwestern, and I thought he did a really good job. The thing that jumped out to me the most about his off coverage was he just had really patient feet. So he would typically start with his read step. I thought that looked really good. And then he'd read a guy down, he'd either shuffle, he'd backpedal, whatever it was. And his him transitioning on stutter goes or, challenging himself in the open field, I thought all those things looked really good. His off coverage ability to anticipate, and kind of read down routes, I thought that was good. His ability to, play off and, backpedal, turn and run, that looked really good. A lot of it just showed me his feet, his change of direction from that standpoint, from being off was really good. His ability to squeeze routes from off coverage, really good. All those things jumped out to me immediately and really showed more versatility, because at 6 foot, 192 pounds, that's not a small corner. Right now, it's not quote unquote big. We've seen some big guys coming out, the 6'1", 6'2", 205, 210 pound corners with Horn and Sertain and Farley and those guys. He won't be considered in that class of a big corner, but he has good size. And I thought the thing that really jumped out to me and what I want to see, how's his feet, how's he transitioning from off coverage? I thought those things looked really good. And I'm not just picking out plays here and there. It was very consistent, right? Again, you can show a play here and there where a guy looks good, but how consistent is that throughout games? And I thought for the most part, his ability to just be really patient, read down guys, even from off coverage, squeeze routes, that was consistent and showed up time and time again. From press coverage, it looked really good. I thought he was very consistent from that standpoint. Feet at the line of scrimmage, He's more of a feet before hands type guy, which is fine, especially if he works to get hands on. I thought just his change of direction from press was really good. Feet were really good. He did a good job of reading guys down. I made a joke on Twitter about how, it must be story time because he read this receiver down like a book. That looks really good to me. Like, those are the things that I want to see. I never thought that, he was really in any type of panic from press coverage. I didn't think that he struggled to run with guys vertically. There was one thing that jumped out. There were a couple flags here and there from press coverage that he probably wanted to clean that up, maybe a little bit grabby. But again, I'm more of a guy that would say, hey, if you're not cheating, you're not trying. And I want to see, hey, get a little grabby and whatnot. But I think sometimes with him, he would get grabby on vertical routes. And it's like, dude, like, you can run with these guys. You have the speed. Again, unofficial time, which probably a hand time of 4.31. That's blazing. Even his official time, 4.38, blazing. So you can run vertical with guys. You don't have to, grab and be too handy. But for the most part, I thought he did a really good job of just reading down routes and being really comfortable from the line of scrimmage. And, okay, you get an inside release. I'm just going to comfortably read you down, squeeze the route. And, okay, you run a dig, I'm running the dig with you. He broke up some passes from there. He was able to do a lot of things where I just thought, very comfortable and press. And obviously when I showed the off coverage film as well, very comfortable from there. So overall, the things that were kind of jumping out to me right away, I identified the change of direction. I identified his ability to play off, his press coverage ability, and his fluid movements. And I'm like, man, is this guy CB1? Okay. Yeah, that's where I'm going with this. Now, we talked about the 4.28 or whatever it was, short shuttle, it was a short shuttle. And I could see that a little bit. Sometimes, like, when he put his foot in the ground, it just didn't close as fast as you probably would like. That, like, not explosive from a close where you would see like Farley, right? When Farley closes, like, he closes. I didn't see that from him, but again, that's not something that I would be too worried about. It wasn't something where I felt like, oh, this is an issue. I think he closes well, but I think maybe sometimes he can challenge himself a little bit more to maybe just be quicker on reading down the receiver's route from off coverage, and that would help him, just a little bit more anticipation. But for the most part, like, yeah, that was something that kind of I saw it where I'm like, my first initial notes were, man, can he close faster? And there were instances where I saw it, and again, some examples of where I didn't see it. I didn't see it jump out a whole lot in the film that I watched, but I saw it enough to say, okay, this is something that he's good at. And I don't like to say, oh, this guy's just some physical tackler or aggressive tackler, but he's definitely a willing tackler, and he'll stick his head in there with no issues, pause. So he might be somebody that is more of a aggressive tackler, as you can see here in some of these clips. He'll not shy away from contact, come down, even from off coverage, reading zones and square a guy up. That's a big dog mentality. There are a lot of guys who would likely, like, maybe just dive at ankles, go low, or miss tackles. And from that standpoint, I think I saw one missed tackle, and it was kind of in the open field. There were a few bodies around, but for the most part, he was making contact and bringing guys down. It looked really good, and he shot with no hesitation. So I really like his physicality. I think the bigger issue that teams are going to have with him, and I talked about, like, is he CB1, right? Because he has that type of ability, but he has to stay on the field. He was injured a ton. Originally, I couldn't watch film on him because I had some 2019 film from Northwestern, and I'm like, man, like, where is he? This is not him. He's number 2. Like, this, it was like number 20 something, number 11. Like, these guys, it's not him. So he probably missed a little bit too much time, over the few years. But when he's on the field, he is really good, and I think he possesses all the traits that you would like to see. All in all, just watching him, noticing that he plays with a certain level of, swagger, confidence, tenacity, aggressiveness, scrappiness, and all those things that kind of jumped out to me. And I'm like, man, who does this guy remind me of? And it didn't take long to think about it. Jair Alexander, right? We're talking about somebody who, good feet, twitchy, and Alexander's a couple inches shorter, but obviously he has that similar type speed and the ability, scrappiness, confidence that Jair Alexander plays with. He's one of the better young cornerbacks in the NFL. Greg Newsome remind me of that type of talent. And Jair Alexander, did he get drafted number 16 overall? That's just off the top of my head, but I know he was a high to mid first round draft pick. The corner that I was taking before him was Denzel Ward, another smaller guy. But with just how Newsome played, man, he reminded me a ton of Jair Alexander. And I think it's a pretty high compliment. There are a lot of Packer fans that really love that, right? They're like, oh, Jair Alexander, let's get another one. But I think the Packers who are picking late first round, unless these medical things don't check out too well for him, I'm not sure they're going to have a chance to get him. So that's going to be it for today. Again, Greg Newsome II, really like him. Loved his film, loved his ability, change of direction, aggressiveness, feet, ability to play off, ability to play press, played some slot, played against a tight end and was aggressive with him. I love his mindset. I loved everything about him. I don't know how I'm going to have him, but I know he's going to be in that discussion with the other top 4 guys that I already have.